Got an extra desk up here.
Sorry.
So, today I make good on a solemn vow that I made to myself when I became a teacher of public speaking. And that is this. About 8 years ago, I would say, I jumped ship from English and Humanities to teaching speech and communication. I used to teach English and Humanities before that. Now I teach things like public speaking, family communication, cultural communication. I coach the forensics team here. It's been great. But the summer before I first became a teacher of public speaking, I had not one, not two, not three, not four, 5 weddings to attend. Yep. And so we're going to get back to those weddings in just a little bit. But by the time I hit the 5th wedding, and by the time I was over at the open bar talking to anyone who would listen, I had made 2 promises to myself. One of those, we'll get back to weddings in a couple weeks from now, after your speech number 4, but the other one was this. How many of you have experienced what a lot of people refer to as death by PowerPoint? So, where you've been PowerPointed to death and you've had to sit through long, interminable, horrible PowerPoint presentations. All right, we are going to share some of those negative experiences today. This is a safe space. PowerPoint can't hurt you. And we're going to talk to you about how PowerPoint has hurt you in the past. Because the first solemn vow that I made to myself as a new professor of public speaking was no one was going to leave my public speaking class subjecting other people to horrible PowerPoint presentations. All right?
I don't know, I kind of get joy from seeing that.
Nope.
I've seen some good bad ones.
The wall stops with Professor Kuiper's Fundamentals of Public Speaking class. No one will leave this class subjecting people to awful, terrible, take forever, interminable, overloaded with text and sound effects PowerPoint presentations. So, the lecture that I'm going to give you is not found in any public speaking textbook or anything. This is the side benefit of being a teacher. You get to just essentially tell a captive audience what you want to for a little while. So, this is what I'm going to do right now. And I would need your help with this because a lot of your hands went up when you said death by PowerPoint. So all we're going to do for the first little bit here is take a look at the do's and don'ts of PowerPoint presentation. All right? So, we got the do's, we got the don'ts, and you are going to help me out with this. So, some simple do's and don'ts when it comes to PowerPoint presentation. Kobe, what do you got?
Don't put up an entire book on one.
Oh boy. I'm going to use your exact words here. I call it sin number 1 when it comes to PowerPoint presentation. And I like your wording, Kobe, so I'm just going to use it. Don't put up a book. Alright? So, don't put up a book. And what do you mean by that, Kobe? Just to make sure we're talking about the same thing.
Basically, like when you see a slide, someone's like trying to present it, and it's literally just a million words on there, and they're slowly going on.
No. All I do is read it word for word. Yep, exactly. It drives me crazy when people write a paper and then read it to us as a speech, right? I've made that very clear in this class that I never ever want you to do that. So you can imagine what it does to my nervous system and my molars in general when instead of reading to us word for word and going, jaguars are very interesting cats that exist in a number of different jungle environments, including some that are in, when people put all of that information up on a PowerPoint presentation and then do this. Jaguars are very interesting cats that live in a variety of environments. Some of them are jungles and some of them are like now you are not even looking at the audience. We can read faster than you can talk. When you remember when we were talking about speech number 2, there's a speed limit on what your mouth can do and the brain moves much faster. So we're like right at this fast, and you're still 6 lines up here. Like, what you have to remember about jaguars is they are very important. Oh, and I don't do this to condescend, right? Because I have seen professors do this. I have seen supervisors do this. I have seen pastors do this. I have seen all different kinds of people in all different kinds of settings do the death by PowerPoint thing, and it is lethal to an audience's attention span. So. That, to me, is sin number 1 when it comes to PowerPoint presentation. If we were to deal with the more deadly sins of PowerPoint, what would you suppose they would be? Barrett?
don't overload the special effects.
Oh, you guys are nailing it today. Sometimes it takes people like a while to get to these two fundamental sins, and you have gotten to it right away. So, sin number 2 is what I'm going to do, what I call the carnival of distraction. Alright, the carnival of distraction is when, okay, just to make sure that we're talking about the same thing, just like I did with Kobe. What do you mean by that, Barry?
Well, there are plenty of features on PowerPoint where you could have titles or pictures go in any pattern that you want to. You can have different things just pop up on the page with the click of the button, and if you get too many of them, then it's so time consuming, and it's just, and then the people know that it's time consuming and they end up skipping it, and that looks way worse too, and it's...
When they just kind of like power through it.
Yeah, and it's like, okay,
like,
this
I'm real sorry.
and now it's right here.
I regret everything. Yeah, like, and you can, and the thing that you have to understand about PowerPoint, and when I say, by the way, when I say PowerPoint, I'm referring to any kind of digital presentation software. Like, sometimes in modern American capitalist society, the name of a particular product replaces the name for the actual product because they corner the market so well, right? So if I sneeze and I'm disgusting, I'm not going to turn to anyone and say, excuse me, do you have a facial tissue? I'm going to say instead, what? Do you have a Kleenex? The Kleenex is a brand name. If I need to get two papers attached together, I'm not going to say, excuse me, do you have any clear adhesive tape? I'm going to say, do you have any Scotch tape, even though Scotch is the brand name. PowerPoint, that's kind of happened with digital presentation software. So I'm talking about anything created by Mac, anything created by OpenOffice, anything like that. And so I'm just going to call it PowerPoint, even though Steve Jobs would probably be spinning in his grave while I was doing so. So sorry, Steve, but this is just kind of how the language has evolved. And so one thing you have to understand about PowerPoint presentation is it was not built by speaking professionals. It was built by software engineers who were trying to design a product that would make Microsoft Corporation a mountain of money, right? So that's why it was built. So that's why there are, I mean, it's not a bad thing. PowerPoint is simultaneously kind of the best and worst thing to happen to public speakers in the last 20, 25 years. But the thing that you have to remember is there are all these bells and whistles inside it that are put there so that you feel like PowerPoint is fun to use. And the more that you use the product, then the more Microsoft makes a bunch of money, and the more that Steve Jobs or Bill Gates, I guess, whoever it would be, can like tile his bathroom in gold, right? Because the more that you use PowerPoint, the more you spend on it. And so that's why there are all these bells and whistles inside, to make it fun to use, right? And that's why there are things like you can have the slide appear, or you can have it wipe in from the side, or you can have like a bird fly in and have it like hork it out of its mouth, or you can, whatever you want, right? And so you can always kind of tell when someone's gone on a bender when it comes to these things, right? You know, when they're sitting at their computer and like, all right, well, my PowerPoint presentation is on Edgar Allan Poe. Then I'll have a sound effect for each letter as it appears on the screen, and then I'll have a car tire burn out at the beginning to grab everyone's attention, and you end up with this giant monstrosity. And in addition to that being a bad way to just use PowerPoint presentation, should the focus on you when you're using PowerPoint presentation be on you or on the presentation? It should be on you. And the last thing that you need is for the audience to constantly be going, I wonder what's going to happen next, right? That's a problem. And so, and I talk about this from personal experience. Like one of the worst things that I found was, and it was from an award-winning professor too, in East Georgia, FSEJ hosted this conference where it was basically like how to teach better is basically what it is. I'm always trying to hone my craft and I'm always trying to get better, so I registered for the conference and was like, all right, well, let's learn some stuff, how to teach gooder. And so this Georgia professor comes in, he was an award-winning professor from a community college, and his presentation was about how to engage students, right? So how to engage students, keep them interested in everything like this. And he had a monstrosity of a PowerPoint presentation loaded. We're talking not a sound effect assigned to every word, a sound effect assigned to every letter that appeared on the screen. It was horrific because he brings it up like this, and the first slide that he has up has the word engagement on it. and it appears one letter at a time. So, he's teaching, like FSCJ hosted it, so it's in one of these rooms, and as you are well aware, these computers are not super friendly to a lot of different people, and mercifully, the computer just gave up on like slide 28. The whole thing froze, right, in mid, like, in the middle of it. And so everyone else who's in there